Hey everybody, Kyle Sasser here, and it's everybody's favorite time of the month. That's right, real estate market statistics time. These real estate market statistics are for the Dayton Metro area for January 2026. So as you can see, we are back at the beautiful Dayton Engineers Club to record this market statistics video. This is technically the porch. This used to be open to the air. It is a little cold for that, so it was enclosed, and we have some baseboard heaters there. And it's a touch warm in here, I'm not gonna lie. The room that we were in previously with the big fireplace is actually just through the door right here. And interestingly, this window used to be the barber shop, and that is where one of the Wright brothers, he would sit in that corner, have his hair cut. But that was a little irritating to him because he couldn't see his planes taken off. So he actually had the chair moved to this corner so that he could look out the window across the porch here and watch his planes take off and leave from an airfield that's used to be over this way. So interesting location and tons of historical stuff. And looking forward to bringing you some more rooms and areas from the Engineers Club here. You might be asking yourself, why are you calling these the January 2026 numbers when the report and the closed transactions are from December 2025? And a few reasons for that. One is a month is usually the best way to gauge what the real estate market is doing. So day to day is way too short, and week to week you'll have things like holidays and weather patterns and stuff like that that can really affect how many transactions occur in that time period. But once you get to a month, that seems to kind of level everything out, and it becomes easier to spot trends and see where things are going. With these statistics, we also compare year to year. So we are comparing December 2025 compared to December 2024. And the reason we do that instead of month to month is because the real estate cycle has a natural ebb and flow to it with the calendar year. Obviously, not as many homes get listed for sale or purchased in the wintertime. Not a lot of people interested in being outside when it's super cold. So we compare year over year, not month to month. That said, I do keep an eye on month to month with what happens, just because that does help keep us informed of any potential trend shifts in the real estate market. Now, if you think back to your math class, you'll remember mean, median, mode, or probably median and average, or at least average. So averages, as everybody knows, let's say you have 5 houses. You add up the sales price of those 5 houses, you divide it by 5, that gives you the average sales price. Median's a little bit different though. With median, what that is let's say you sell 100 houses. The median is the point at which there's an equal number of higher priced houses to lower priced houses. So it's more of the actual midpoint of the market. I tend to pay a lot more attention to the median sales price, primarily because the average sales price can be affected significantly if there is, a couple very expensive houses that sell. That will really pull that average up, especially as we've been in a little fewer sales than usual, historically speaking. So average tends to move around a little bit more. Median tends to be a little bit more of the true quote unquote middle point of the market, and it kind of removes the large outliers. So let's dive into the market statistics for the Dayton metro area. So just so you know, these numbers cover from roughly about Piqua to Springboro, and from West Alexandria all the way over to Xenia. So that is the geographical area that I tend to cover, though I do a bit down in Cincinnati as well. But for the Dayton metro area, I do kind of cut that off at Springboro. So total number of closed sales was up 13.76% to 1,042 homes sold. Median sales price went up 4.15% from $240,000 to $249,950. Average sales price was up 7.58% from $268,163 to $288,478. Median time to contract dropped 22.64% from 53 days to 41 days. That is pretty quick for this market. And that also ties into the fact that median sales price continues to go up. It was shorter than that in the past. So yeah, the lowest it has been was in June of 2025. It dropped all the way down to 28 days. That is super fast. So again, it's wintertime, things slow down a little bit. So the market overall is faster than it was last year, but not as fast as it was in the summertime, which is when, kind of peak season is. Total number of new listings was up 2.93% from 785 to 808 homes. And active inventory is up 17.77% from 1,711 to 2,015 homes. foreclosures and short sales, or as I like to call it, the doom and gloom section. Still not a lot of activity over there. There was a total of 5 foreclosures and there was no short sales. Now, I do like to dive into the different price points because a $1 million house sells with a little bit different time frame than, say, a $300,000 house. That's primarily just because there's more buyers in that $300,000 price category. I also try not to read every one of these because that gets a little monotonous. I usually try to just hit the high points for you so you can kind of see what's going on. So 100 to 150,000, the number of closed sales by that price point dropped 9.47% to 86 homes. 150 to 200 went up 10.3% to 182. 200 to 250,000 went up 35.61% to 179. And the story here is above that 150 price point, there has been more and more homes for selling at those price points. And then below that number, there's fewer homes that have sold in those price points. And so that's kind of a two-part reason for that. The first reason is as median sales price goes up, there's just fewer and fewer homes in that 50 to 100,000 price category. Houses that a year or 2 or 3 ago were in that price range have slid up to higher price categories at this point. And then the secondary reason is because just the market is stronger this year than last year. So we are expecting to see the number of closed sales higher. Median time to contract. So the 100 to 150 range dropped 10.2% to 44. 150 to 200 dropped 29.41% to 36. 200 to 250 was down 25% to 42, and so on and so forth. The story of time to contract, it is down across all price points. That means that houses are selling faster than they have been last year. Whenever you have shortening time to contracts, that usually means that median home price is going to rise because that shows that demand is picking up. Some good news for buyers though is that the total number of new listings is up. So there are thankfully more homes to choose from than there have been for the last few years. And that's kind of been the story for the last, couple years here. But like 250 to 300,000, there's 34.48% more homes for sale, total of 117. 300 to 400,000, held pretty steady at 1.44% to 141. And again, this is also, part of this is houses sliding up to higher price categories. But overall, if we look at the total number of new listings, those are also up a touch. And then whenever we get to total inventory by current list price, every price category with the exception of 150 to 200, which is only down 2.3%. To me, that's kind of within the realm of error. Everything else, there is significantly more houses for sale to choose from this year compared to last year. So 200 to 250 was up 17.48%. 242 homes for sale. 250 to 300,000 was up 28.23% to 268. 400 to 600,000, there was 61.31% more homes for sale. Total of 321. And the $1 million-ish range was up about 10%. So those are the market numbers for the Dayton Metro area for January 2026. So overall, what can we expect to see in the 2026 market? How are these numbers shaping up? Is there a crash coming? So far as the statistics go and the market trends, there's no indication that the market is going to crash anytime soon. The only sort of early indicator-ish of that is inventory is higher than it was. But honestly, the catch with that is inventory was so ridiculously low that there was nothing that it could do other than go up. The main things is that, the shortening time to contract, that indicates that houses are selling a lot faster than they were. And, that 40 days territory in Dayton, that's very much seller's market territory. That's then reinforced by the fact that median sales price continues to march upwards. The Dayton Metro area, it's been a pretty steady march up compared to much of the rest of the country that has actually had a bit of a pullback or decline and has kind of rebounded from that. Dayton through the last 3-4 years since COVID has basically really just kind of had this steady upward trajectory. Now, a lot of rumbles about interest rates and all that stuff. A lot of people think that interest rates coming down is going to lead to a overwhelming flood of houses going up for sale as people now decide to sell that house and buy another house because interest rates are lower. Personally, I feel like that's a little misguided because the more direct corollary is lower interest rates leads to stronger demand. And it would take a lot of sellers to outweigh the increase in the number of buyers. To put it a different way, you would have to line up like 5 or 6 things for that to be true, whereas the normal thing, which is interest rates go down, number of buyers goes up, that is a very direct relationship. One of the reasons things sold so quick in 2020 is because interest rates were so low. It was 1.5% to 2.5%. And I can't tell you how many people I talked to who said, we're buying a house cash and then we're going to immediately refinance it to 2.5%. This is essentially free money. Theoretically, could it happen? Sure. But again, that is a very convoluted way to get to a desired outcome versus realistically what usually happens directly. The good news is we're still not having like a huge price surge. You know, like the median sales price is only up $9,000 compared to last year. So that is a nice, sustainable increase. You know, like 3, 4, 5, 6% increases in home prices. Me, that is what I want to see. A lot of people hope for crashes. That causes a whole bunch of other problems. It's very much a catch a falling knife problem. And real estate historically just doesn't do it like people think that it does. Like a real estate crash is usually a 20 to 30% retraction at best, you know, after the Great Recession. A typical downturn is more of like a 5 to 15% retraction. So we're not talking life-changing differences in home prices and buying a house for pennies on the dollar. If you look at historic information from the National Federal Reserve for median sales price and typical price retractions, just does not happen. So overall, on the buyer side, a lot to look forward to. There are more houses to choose from, although they are slightly more expensive than they were last year. And on the sales side, things are selling pretty quickly still, and you know, still getting top dollar for your property. So it's amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch these real estate market statistics video for the Dayton Metro area for January 2026. If you would like help finding your own amazing home in the Dayton area, I would love to help you out. You can reach me at 937-907-6777. There's also a link to my calendar in the description down below. You can go there, book a chat at the time that works best for you. Thanks so much again for watching. My name is Kyle Sasser, and I'll talk to you soon.